So the last video, we discussed the shilas that they had, or some of the shilas that they had during the Holocaust in the Kovno Ghetto. The source of everything I am saying is from this sefer, Shilas V'Tshuvos Ma'amakim, from Rabbi Oshry. It is a 5-volume, and I will tell you whenever I'm telling you a tshuva, how many pages he had, because I am really cutting it down to the basics that you should basically understand his answer, but without going into all the lumdus. So the first shaila is the Nazis made them rip the sefer Torah to cover the murdered cats and dogs. Question: what is the tshuva that they require? What is the tshuva that they require? So the Gemara Marikot in Chavav says that if somebody rips a sefer, rips a sefer Torah, or you see a sefer Torah ripped, you're chayiv to rice kriya. That is the nusach in the Babli. Yerushalmi has a different nusach. The nusach in the Yerushalmi is sefer Torah shenisraf, that it was burnt. Not that it was just ripped, but the sefer Torah was burnt. And it's brought down, according to Yerushalmi and the Babli, in such a situation, you're chayiv to rice kriya. So he says, being it's a machlekes Babli and Yerushalmi, and they were forced to do it, we can be mekel and go according to the Yerushalmi, and they are not mechuyev to rice kriya. The people who heard, who were not there, brought down, should fast, they should have a tainus, but being everyone has a different issue, that the people were shvach. If they want to be mekel on the tainus, they can be mekel and not fast. Next, and this tshuva was 7 pages that he went through the lumdus. The next tshuva, somebody knows they're going to kill him, and before they kill him, they're going to torture him, and they're going to bring his children and his wife that they will kill in front of him. So the question is he allowed to commit suicide? Mavid atzmo lodas. That is the question. This tshuva is an 8-page tshuva. And they discuss it. What is mavid atzmo lodas? It means somebody is committing suicide. So there are various stories in the Gemara, in Navi, when somebody committed suicide. So let's go to the easy one. In Ksubis on Kuf Gimel Amid Beis, it is brought down that those who were there when Rav Yehuda HaNasi died were going to have Olam Haba. Whoever was there, V'shas Rav Yehuda HaNasi died. There was a Hukayvis, which is a washing man, who missed that day. He was not there. And it bothered him so much that he went to the roof of the house and he committed suicide and jumped down. So a baskol came out, which is a voice from Shemayim, says that he will have Olam Haba. What they say it means, had that voice from Shemayim not came out, he would not have Olam Haba, because he killed himself. Then we bring down another story. That's one story. The Gemara Sanhedrin, Tzaddik Amar Aleph, brings down various people she'ein lahem chelik l'olam haba. One of them is Achitophel. Achitophel, the story goes in Navi, when Avshalom had a rebellion against David HaMelech, he was one of the advisors. And then when he saw they were not listening to his advice, he went home and hung himself, because he saw the rebellion was not going to be matzliach. And the Gemara says, Ein lo chelik leilam haba. Now, when we're talking about, there are two halachas here. There is one covered hames, and then there is covered hachayim. So these halachas of mavid atzmo ladas is a halacha of covered hames, that there is no halacha of covered hames. But things that are related to the family of that person, with avelis, that they should still be doing. So we have two stories. One story is Ein lo chelik leilam haba, and another story is it's fine. What he did was fine. Then there's another story, and it's not clear what really happened. At the end of Shmuel Aleph, there was a battle on Har Gilboa, and Shaul was the king, and the Jews lost. The Israelites lost. And Shaul was mortally wounded. And he asked his armor bearer, that would be the term, to kill him. And the armor bearer said, no, I'm not going to kill you. Shaul was concerned that when the Plishtim captured him and he was still alive, they were going to torture him. Question is, to torture him, and this seems to be machlokes achrayim, if they were going to torture him for the sake of torturing him, or they were going to torture him that he should convert, and he should be oved avodah zarah. So therefore, he felt he was allowed to do it. And somebody came along and killed him. And Shaul said, kill me. And if we'll go to Shmuel Beis, the person went and told David HaMelech he killed him, and David HaMelech had that person killed. He said, you're not allowed to do that. How can you touch a king, a Mashiach Hashem? Now the question is, was Shaul right, or was he not right? Was this for religious reason, or was this that he shouldn't be tortured? And there seems to be machlokes if the Chazal agreed with him or did not agree with him. Then there's another story in Gittin Nun Zayin Amid Beis. And it comes Tisha B'Av. That's these 2-3 blot in Gittin, we all learn. And there's a story, there were 400, I guess, teenage boys and 400 teenage girls that they captured, and they wanted to abuse them. Let's use that word. And the girls said, we're not going to suffer. They jumped in and they drowned themselves. They're on a boat. And the boy said, if the girls did that, we're going to do that. So they committed suicide. And the Gemara brings it down. And the Gemara really doesn't tell you if they were right or wrong. It's just telling you the story that we learn every Tisha B'Av, or we should learn every Tisha B'Av. Then there's another story. At the Churban, there was Tzidkiyahu. He was the king. He was a king, the Jewish king, who rebelled against Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuchadnezzar, at the end of the battle, when they already conquered the Beis HaMikdash, they're already burning the Beis HaMikdash, and they caught Tzidkiyahu and his family outside of Yerushalayim, and they brought him to Nebuchadnezzar. Tzidkiyahu told Nebuchadnezzar, kill me. And Nebuchadnezzar said, no. First, I'm going to kill your wife and your children, and then I'll kill you. So the question is, was Tzidkiyahu right when he requested it? Because when he did request it, he never died. Nebuchadnezzar blinded him, and he had special eyes that were able to see in darkness, and Nebuchadnezzar blinded him and took him into captivity. And later, during captivity, when Nebuchadnezzar died, he was released from captivity. Was Tzidkiyahu right or not right? So the psak from the Rav could be it's mutter, and you are allowed. That is what he told the person. You are allowed. But we should not be mefarsim this psak. We should not publicize it. Because that is not the Jewish way. The Jewish way is not suicide. The Jewish way is to have Rahmanus on Hashem, and whatever Hashem does to you is for the best. But if you're asking me a shaila, I am telling you, you are allowed. He says, he finishes up the tshuva, and he says, I want you to know through this whole period in the Kovno Ghetto, only 3 people committed suicide. So that's the answer to the second question. Then we have the third question. The third question is, somebody put on tefillin early. He put on tefillin, every morning, it was early, he put on tefillin. The Nazis caught him, and besides torturing him, they put a tselem, they put a cross where his tefillin goes. And he wants to know, is he allowed to cover it or not? So he says, the Gemara talks about a situation, and the Gemara says, everybody is mechuyev in tefillin. Kayin, Levi, Yisrael. So Gemara asks the kasha, of course, if they're not mechuyev in tefillin, who is mechuyev in tefillin? And the Gemara gives an answer. The Gemara says, we would say Kohanim are different. That they cannot wear the shel yad, and being they can't wear the shel yad, they should be parted from wearing the shorosh. Why can they not wear the shel yad? Because a kohen has big day kahuna that he has to put on. So now it's a question how to explain the Gemara. One explanation is that if the big day kahuna have a chatzitza between the beged, the clothes, and his skin, it is not kosher. He is not being mekayim the mitzvah of wearing big day kahuna. So therefore, he cannot put the tefillin under the big day kahuna. What does that mean? He cannot put the tefillin under the big day kahuna because he has to have, tefillin have to be la'is al yadcha, that it is a private ice that you have with Hashem. That you have with Hashem. Therefore, it has to be covered. The tefillin have to be covered. So now, the question, what Kohanim are different? The Rush learns that Kohanim are different because the way we were explaining it, if you put the tefillin on top of their beged, on top of their clothes, so there's a chatzitza between the tefillin and the beged. So from here, there's a halacha of not making a chatzitza and not to have any bandage or anything under the tefillin shel yad. That's the way the Rush learned the sugya. Rashi and Taisus learned the sugya different. Rashi and Taisus learned, no, that's not the halacha. You can put the tefillin that on top of the beged. That would not be the problem. But then there's another halacha. The tefillin has to be l'chol ha'os, l'os ayodcha, for you, not for anybody else. So therefore, you have to cover the tefillin. So assuming you would put it on the big day kahuna, you then have to put another cloth or something on top of that. That, with big day kahuna, you are not allowed to do. You are not allowed to put a beged on that. So therefore, that is why the Kohanim would be potter, not that they would be potter. They are potter from tefillin shel yad. And the Gemara says, we would say, just like they're potter from tefillin shel yad, they should be potter from tefillin shel rosh. The Gemara says, no, there's still mechuyev in tefillin sharosh. It comes out, it is a fundamental machlokes. If you have a bandage, are you by your tefillin, are you allowed to put your tefillin on top of the bandage or not? According to Rashi and Taisus, you are allowed, and according to the Rush, it's a chatzitza, and you are not allowed. Therefore, he says halachically, the Aruch HaShulchan and the Mishnah Berurah say you can be mekel like Rashi and Taisus, and if you have a bandage, you can cover up the bandage. You can cover it up. You can put your tefillin on top of it, which according to the Rush, you are not allowed. But therefore, relying on the Aruch HaShulchan and Mishnah Berurah, you are allowed to cover it. He says, but what I would advise you to do, don't put on your tefillin in shul. Put on your tefillin before you come to shul. And that is brought down to put on your tefillin before you come to shul, and then nobody will see whatever you're doing, because you are covering your tefillin anyway, because it should be for you and ice, you're covering it with a beged. So that's the third shiloh. Then we had the next shiloh. Next shiloh is that they moved out 10,000 people from the ghetto, and they brought them into the forest. They had them take off their clothes, and after they took off their clothes, they had them go into a pre-dug big hole, and they machine gunned them. So we had a couple shilas from here. The Kasha 4, which is 6 pages, that the beged of somebody who dies, the tachrichim, that is what we call them, you are not allowed to have hana from the tachrichim. So the question was, are you allowed to have hana from these people regarding? And the answer was, it is only asa b'hana, that which they are wearing when they die. But if they were not wearing it when they die, there is no shiloh, and you're allowed to have hana from those clothes. What about the people who died? So that is question 4. Question 5 was, what about the people who died? Do we have regular avelis and kaddish for them? And he brings down a Chuvas Maril that says during the Gezerah, and I don't know what he was referring to in Jewish history, we had these shilas, and the Maril says you say kaddish for them, even though they died of Kiddush Hashem. The next shilah, and that is 6 pages. A pregnant woman, and the German said you cannot become pregnant. Pregnant woman was in the street. Nazis saw her, shot her in the head, killed her. Are you allowed to open up her uterus, her stomach, to take out the child? Halachically, you are not allowed to on a regular situation when a woman dies, because there is nivel hames. You're really cutting up a dead person. So the pikuach nefesh, to save a child, you're allowed to. But on a normal situation, by the time you cut off, you can be sure that she's dead. The child has died already. So therefore, it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch, you are not allowed to do it. In this situation, where she died instantly by being shot in the head, he paskined you can. So they rushed the woman, the dead woman, to the hospital. They cut her open, and they took out a child. Didn't end there. The Nazis kept track of everybody. So the Nazi wanted to see the name of the woman so he can put it into his diary or records. He went into the hospital, and he found the woman, and he saw the child, and he just went nuts. He took the child, and he just threw the kid against the wall, and dashed his brains out. That was Shiloh 6. Shiloh 7. Okay. A person escaped, and they were in Yugoslavia, and they felt they were safe, at least safe. They're living as a guy until after the war. Then he got sick, and he felt he was going to die here in Yugoslavia, and he didn't want to be buried with the Goyim. So his question is, can he be cremated? They will not have a problem cremating him. And he basically asked the Shaila, am I allowed to be cremated? And the answer was, it is a mitzvah of kvura. And not only that, but if somebody in his last will and testament says, cremate me, the halacha is you do not listen to him. And therefore, you are not allowed to be cremated. Now, as a practical, I would tell you to tell your family where you are, so that after the war, they can go dig up your body and bury it somewhere else. But that would be the practical answer. But if it's a question of being cremated or being buried in a Goyish cemetery, you should be buried in a Goyish cemetery. Then there was the other Shaila. People were slept out of the ghetto, various stages, and they left over stuff. These people who are impoverished here have nothing. And they want to know, can we take the property, the begodim, the clothes of these people who died, or do we have to concern ourselves that could be they have yarshim, they have people who inherit them somewhere else, and therefore we cannot touch their money. So he explains with a concept brought down in the Gemara. Gemara brings down a concept, what is called zuto shoyam. What is that? When a wave sweeps apart a part of the beach, a part of the shore, and takes the stuff here and deposits it somewhere else. In such a situation, we say that it is no longer belongs to the first person. That is what we say. That is the way we paskin. Accordingly, whatever is here, whatever the property was, it is the equivalent of zuto shayam, and therefore, whatever was here is basically hefka, and you can do whatever you want with it. I hope I've done justice to his truvas, and I hope I've been ma'arev people for what the Churban was during World War II.